Welcome everybody. Apologies, we're running a few moments late, some technical difficulties. Lucky we all have a sense of humour. Okay, welcome to Empowerment Point TV and welcome to my very first Business Dining with Deb, Business Treats and Takeaways. Before we do start, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Chef Thomas Damm, who is absolutely amazing, and you'll see him, he'll come out, and when he does come out, he will also, I hear footsteps. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Chef Thomas Damm, meet our audience over here. He is sponsoring tonight and has the most amazing dishes that we'll be eating. And you'll see him come through the night when he'll be serving us as well. Oh my God, it all looks so good. And it smells delicious.
Certainly does.
Just to let you know that Chef Thomas Damm from Damm Good, that's DAMMGOOD.com.au, caters for extremely large events, exclusive intimate events like we're having here, and everything in between. So if you would like an amazing dining experience, please do go onto the website, or you can contact me as well. And my name's Debbie Small, the founder of Empowerment Point. Just to let you know too that he does travel the world. So if you're watching from somewhere overseas, Australia, then he can cater for your function as well. Just before we start, I just wanted to let you know I've got a track sheet in front of me here and I have my watch, and the reason I do that is because let me tell you that if I don't have a watch, these guys will be talking till tomorrow morning. We'll be having breakfast here.
Oh, we're not doing it until tomorrow morning?
Oh, you never know. We could ask Chef Thomas if he's available.
For breakfast.
For breakfast. So I just wanted to let you know firstly why I have created this and why I've done this, because it's my first one. I wanted to share this with you on here. So I created Business Dining with Deb, Business Treats and Takeaways for a number of reasons. One, I wanted a fun way to bring experts to my audience, and I have a lot of friends who are experts in their own areas, and I really wanted to enjoy having conversations with them, finding out more about them, and have them help you in a really great way. The second reason is I love food, so why not? Why not put the two together? Why not? And the third reason, which to me is a really important reason as well, is that I love helping small to medium businesses. That's the whole reason I built Empowerment Point, was to make sure that small to medium businesses have strong foundations in their businesses. Over 60% of small to medium businesses fail in the first 3 years. If I can stop that and make it, well, I won't be able to stop that totally, but if I can stop that, it would be wonderful. But if I can get that percentage a lot lower and really help businesses to grow and have strong foundations, that's really important to me. And one of the things, by having Chef Thomas sponsor, by having these guys here, you get to know about other small businesses and you get to know about these guys too. So if you do need help with relationships, or you do need an amazing dining experience, you know you can contact these people as well. So I get to help everyone, which is really quite cool. That's the whole reason that Empowerment Point was actually born. So why did I start with relationships?
Why did you?
Why did I? Well, actually, the reason I started with relationships is because I really truly believe that, you know, if you have a fantastic relationship and your business is not going so well, you can cope with stuff. You can cope with your relationship, you can cope with your business, and you can cope with everything else that's around you. And business, as we all know, is like this. It's not like that. That person's not in business, whoever that is. Business is definitely like that, and you're going to have your ups and downs, and you really need that support. And for me, you know, if you have a business or you have a relationship that's not going well and a business that is going really well, then, you know, things are still going to fall apart. It's like a domino effect. It affects everything. So for me, a really strong foundation is to have a really great relationship. So if you are in a great relationship, then this is going to help your relationship be even better and better. If your relationship is not so great at the moment, this will help your relationship to be better. If you're single, then this will help your next relationship to even be better and better as well.
And if I can add, it also helps if you're single, and if it helps the relationship with yourself, which will impact your relationship with your work and your colleagues as well.
100%, 100%. So I just wanted to say, firstly, thank you to Chef Thomas Damm for sponsoring. Thank you for everyone for watching us today too. And also, just before I introduce these lovely friends next to me, I want to let you know that my lovely friend Nikki is standing by, and she's writing down.
Nikki. Hi guys.
She's writing down all your questions. So make sure you post your comments underneath and you post your questions underneath, because Nikki will let us know your comments, and she's also going to write down your questions so we can choose different questions and answer those questions live as well. So make sure you post them. So I think it's time to have a dinner party.
Yes, can I have a drink? Because I'm really thirsty.
Yes, go for it. Please, no, go for it.
It's bubbly.
Cheers to a wonderful
Yes,
night.
cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers,
Grab
everyone.
yourself a drink.
And make sure you've got dinner there too and you're joining us. So tonight I want to introduce you to two, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Two really good friends of mine, Annie Kallis, a relationship architect, and Jayson Mair, relationship coach.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on board tonight.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This
Oh,
is
yes.
really awesome.
That is my pleasure.
And I really like this guy. And you know what the thing is? We are both relationship coaches and we help people with relationships. But there is one of the things that I really like, that there's absolutely no competition or threat or anything like that, because in this world there's so many of accountants and lawyers and coaches and so forth. The best thing is to learn from each other, and our whole mission is to change the quality of life of other people.
Yes.
So you don't want to sit there competing going, oh wow, you know. And I love it because Jayson is a male, I'm a female, and we come from such different perspectives. It's really, really awesome. You're loving this, don't you? Yay! Yes, so, and I've had lunch with Jayson before, and I didn't want to go home because he was just amazing with his stuff. So I learned so much, you know, and I know already quite a bit, but there's always room for improvement.
Too true.
Always
too
open
true.
to learning new things.
That's
Very
right.
true.
Yeah.
Annie, I wanted to ask you, what is a relationship architect and why did you decide to become one?
So a relationship architect. So what I do is I help couples deal with the pain and the hurt and the resentment by discovering their own brilliance, discovering their own freedoms, so then they can bring romance and passion back into their life and build the delicious relationship they always wanted.
Nice.
And I came up with the name architect is because my main focus is the foundations of a relationship. If you don't have solid foundations like a house, everything crumbles when the storms of life hit. So when an architect designs a house, make sure that the foundations are really solid. So whatever comes on top, it holds the floods and the fires, and well, fires sometimes yes, sometimes no. So I kind of looked at that and I went, oh my God, the most important part of a relationship is solid foundations. And that's what I work with my clients with, is helping them set up solid foundations now. It doesn't matter what happened before, you can't change that. And you can't change the values you had 10 years, 20 years ago and the goals you had back then. Whereas I want to look at what can we do now to elevate you as an individual first and foremost,
That is so true.
and then you as a couple.
That is so true. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that a bit
Yeah.
more soon too. Now, I just want to let you know, these guys already know this, but at times I'm going to curb these guys down. And it's not to be rude, it's just that we've got about an hour and a half. If we had all night, I wouldn't bother doing it. So I just want, they already know it's not rude, but I need you to know that as well. Jayson, tell me, what is a relationship coach and why did you decide to do that?
I had been through, I've been a relationship coach since 2007, so it's been quite a while now. And I will admit that at the start of it, I was pretty crap at relationships. I'll tell you that right now.
Learn?
Well, exactly. And I had been through a couple of rough relationships. And when I looked overall at what was going on with the relationships, there was one common denominator: me. And if you can get to a point, especially guys, because hey, we're not the greatest people to admit fault, but I got to that point and I was able to do that.
Hey, kudos
And-
to you for doing that.
Thank you. And it's okay, well, if it's me, what's going on? And really, it come down to I was a bit of a commitment phobe. It went back to childhood and everything else. That way then, once you get an understanding, clear understanding of what is going on with you and how it's affecting you, which affects your relationships around you and the people around you, then you can do something about it. Instead of saying, oh, it was that person or this person or that person, or oh, it's the government or it's the weather or whatever. You haven't got it. You can't control it. You can't control what this person's doing or that person's doing. You can only control what you do. So I did a lot of work on myself, a lot of personal development and so forth. I studied for 2.5 years for a company down here in Melbourne, and relationships was the thing that I needed to work on the most, because one, I could learn from the mistakes. Two, I was forever being asked for advice from a lot of my more female friends than male friends, because males don't ask for help or look at directions. So I was always helping my female friends, and I'm like, oh, you should do this for a living. So that was when I did the study, got into it. Very, very similar to what the wonderful Annie does. It does come down to building strong relationships, and it really comes down to getting clarity of, yes, you can talk about, if you've been in a relationship for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you can talk about what's happened over those 20 years, but really it's about right now. If someone has come to me and gone, we need your help, we're at a point we don't know if we're going to stay or go or what we're going to do, what do? That's what's about, stripping it back right now and getting clear and getting, hopefully, both you on the same page, because then you know what's going on and understanding what the other person's going through.
Yeah, no, that's really true. What you said beforehand, a lot of people tend to make excuses as well. I've had friends who, they're too busy. Oh my God.
Ooh.
Okay, we're interrupting for a moment.
Oh,
Sorry, but this is going to happen a bit.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Chef Thomas, what do we have?
Oh my God, this looks amazing.
So, let's start with a little lobster and truffle ravioli
Oh my
on
goodness.
grilled asparagus with capsicum oil.
Oh,
Please enjoy.
thank you. I have no doubt.
I hope you can see this, because this looks like,
Look at that.
yeah,
Look at
this
that.
looks amazing.
That is.
Oh my God. So how are we going to do this? Talk and eat at the same time. Oh, we multitask. Okay, we can do all that.
Probably the person who talks don't eat and then enjoy that.
Well, Debbie was talking, so that means we can eat right now. Let her continue to talk.
Enjoy.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that,
Thank you.
Chef Thomas.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
So you know
Wow.
what? I just wanted to say, you talked about the blame game and all of that.
I'll just say
Yeah.
this really quickly. When we talk about the blame game too, people, well, there's two things I think. There's one is the blame game,
Bon appetit.
and two, bon appetit, people, enjoy.
Oh my God. Bye.
There's two things. There's the blame game, but there's also the excuses as well. I've had friends who've travelled, or they're travelling all the time, or they've got to work on their business all the time, or there's the kids all the time. So there's two things I want to look at there. There's the blame game that you're talking about, and the excuses. In what way why do we do these unconsciously? Why do we, instead of looking, let's be happy and work at our relationship, instead of just being so negative or pushing things away all the time? Go for
I'd
it.
like to answer this one, if I may.
Go for it.
Okay,
Things I can eat too.
yeah. So this is one of the things that I learned from one of my mentors. So my mentor is Blaise Singer. You know Blaise Singer, yeah?
We do.
And he talked about, he always does flip charts. So he said, he always shows us this flip chart, because this is the best flip chart he's ever learned. So there's people in general, when something happens, when the shit hits the fan and something happens, the first thing they want to do is they're really scared of the outcome. So they deny. So they deny, no, it didn't happen, no this, no that, whatever. So in reality, that's lying. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to other people. The next thing that they do is they lay blame. So it wasn't me, it was such and such didn't tell me, and such did, and so it's
a reaction. It just happened.
It's lots
instead
of
of
finger
actually
pointing.
thinking about it.
Now that is being a victim.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true too.
And then the third one is all the justifying. So lots and lots of reasons why something happens. Now to remove all of that and to actually have the results that you really want, you have to take personal responsibility. Now, when it comes to responsibility, it's being responsible for what you say and what you don't say, and what you do and what you don't do. So
What you don't do is a lot
That's
more
right.
what you don't do and don't say than what people do say.
That's right. But you know what the thing is, and this comes from personal experience, in my marriage, I said lots of stuff, but I didn't back it up with the doing. So then I wasn't being taken seriously. So you
That
really
happens a
need
lot as
to
well.
be 100% responsible, right? But when it comes to a relationship, like there's 50-50. Why should you have 70% and me 30%?
Fantastic.
Right?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Is everyone else
Sorry
happy
to
as well?
interrupt.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Won't be the
really
last time
amazing.
that I interrupt. I'll be always coming in the
No, that's okay.
keep this up, you can
You know,
interrupt
I
all
can
right.
keep talking, don't worry. I can keep
Thank
talking.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
interesting to hear from you. A lot, like, and always need focus to keep my relationship life and balance. Very
Oh,
interesting to
right.
hear from me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
excellent.
is true, because
Yeah.
you're always travelling overseas and you're travelling interstate and you do a lot of functions as well.
And the
Yeah,
hours too would be very,
yeah,
you know, it's not normal 9 to 5. You'd have random hours which would put a lot of pressure on the relationship.
absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
Normal relationship life is not really possible with the industry.
No, certainly not.
So you gotta have for that one. And,
Spot on.
We're going to talk about those two and the different foundations that people
and
can
the
look
code,
at.
I do want to mention the code of honor.
I've got it listed. It's
Oh,
all done.
beautiful, beautiful.
Glad you like it.
Thank you, this
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
No, fantastic.
So when I was talking about the percentage, so you gotta divide the responsibility 50-50, and then you're 100% responsible to your 50%, and you gotta do everything in your power to own up to, if you stuffed up, just own up, because at least the other person knows where you're at.
Is that like too that comment of you complete me, and it's not about
Oh,
it's not about completing me. It's
Oh,
about
don't get me
completing.
started on
It's
that
about
comment.
being complete yourself. So then two
Yeah.
complete people join for the rest of the journey.
Well, as you've heard me say many times over, I love the movie Jerry Maguire, but the biggest downfall was you complete me. If you have to have someone else to complete you, you need to do some work on yourself.
Yeah,
Anyone,
definitely.
if your reliance is entirely on yourself, and you're able to have your independence and do whatever, anyone else that comes into your life is an added bonus and enhances you in your life. They shouldn't complete you. If you're needing someone to complete you, you need to work on you to complete that. Because that's what happens with a lot of relationships, especially long-term relationships, that when they end, you have two people sitting there going,
What now?
what now? And who am I? I mean, I've been this couple for so long, I don't.
People lose themselves.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. All that, you know, when some couples would come to me at the end of the relationship saying, "Can we save it or not?" I'd say that they'd sit there and go, you know, I wake up in the morning and look at the other person and I don't recognise them, and it's because they've been so focused on doing the day in day out and trying to make it last, but they haven't gone back to the basics and gone back to the fundamentals and the foundations that really make the relationship work, and they end up sort of just not recognising, and then they get to the end of the relationship and sit there and go, I don't even know if I like this wine. I like this wine because he used to like it or she used to like it, but I really don't like it. You know, I've had clients that took on sports, you know, a particular sport because their partner did really well at it, but then when they got to the end, they just went, I didn't even like doing it. I just did it because they become so much of a part of this thing that they lost their independence. So I think you've got to have a bit of independence. As you've heard me say many a times we've had lunch and that together, I've got to have my time, you've got to have your time, and then we have our time together. Now, it's not like I've got my own apartment and you come over once a week or anything like that. It's you've got to have your friends and your activities. I've got to have my friends and activities, and we also do our group things together.
But you know what you also need to do? You need to have your time individually, but
Yes.
you also need to make your time together.
Yes, yeah, that's
To
your
know-
time, my time, and together, yes.
Because the one thing I think that misses a lot is the time together that people actually can nurture each other. Not with friends around, not with family around or other people, just the two of them. Even, you know, making date night once every couple of weeks, just
Love
to be
Love
the
it.
two of them and go out somewhere and do something together. And I find that, you know, I've mentioned to some friends, why don't you look at doing date night? Oh no, I'm too busy to do date night. Well, then how long do you think a relationship is actually going to last?
Well, you're too busy for the relationship.
Hey,
Work or whatever it is that's taking your time up is taking more time than your relationship is. So why? And I'm going to add this early if I can. It's something I recently read from a mentor of mine who wrote a book, and it says, and in time he says stats will say that women will do this more than men, is they will spend more time trying to make one relationship last as long as possible, even though it's an okay relationship, or it's a relationship where half of it they've just hated being in. Why not even have 2 or 3 relationships that might be 20 years long, that are just the greatest relationships with so much fun and whatever, and then if you get to the end of it, you get to the end. But if you can still, you know, have that respect for each other, it's better than being with someone for eternity and just despising them and hating them and hating yourself. And that's the thing, because, and you're saying about the blame game and pointing the fingers and stuff, it's because they don't want to blame themselves sometimes. It's just like, I'd rather, no, it's your fault, you said this, that's it. It's like, hang on a second. And when I did my work on myself, it was the way I used to do things.
well, I'm going to bring you from that.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's all good. What I want to look at with that is look at what are the core values then that we need to look at in a relationship.
Well,
Okay?
well, there's no hard and fast rules when it comes to core values, but what's important is that people know their own individual values, and then they have that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the thing
That's what I
is,
thought of that when you said it.
Yes.
yeah, not to people. Well, look, it's possible that you have the same values, right? But your interpretation of those values are different.
Yes.
Like if I ask you, okay, I ask you, what does integrity mean to you? Okay, you're eating. What does integrity mean to you?
Being true and respectful and holding yourself accountable for what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's one. What's integrity to you?
Integrity to me is being trustworthy. It's being real. It's being, you know, it's being honest and true.
Yeah. So to me, integrity is two-pronged.
Yep.
One is integrity in society, which is keeping your word and acting nobly in front and behind a person.
Yep.
A personal integrity is being whole and complete.
Yep.
So I got to my life to the fullest, so I am whole and complete.
Yes.
So here we are, 3 different people, you know, that have 3 different definitions. Now this also works in a business environment, right? So when I work with people in business, because relationships is not just about couples, it's about relationship with you, with your siblings, with your parents, with your friends, and your teammates. So you go into a company, and there's 10 of them sitting at a table, and they're at each other. Ultimately, they all want to uphold the mission of the business, of the company, right? But their interpretation of those values that the company has are different. And that's why they disagree, because they turn up, they bring themselves with their own meaning. So it's really important to sit people down together. So whether it's a couple or it's in a team, and you know, you talk about entrepreneurship, right? So you've got couples that work together and they have teams, and they're at each other because they're together 24/7. So that's tough. That's tough in itself already, right? But then they have a team, right? So it's learning how to be together. What are their individual values, their values as a couple, and then the team. Oh, this was like finger licking good.
Now then, I hope that I can impress with the next course as well.
Oh yeah, that I could have had like.
I'm actually disappointed
There's no bread.
Not enough.
that it ended.
Oh.
Yeah, I could have had a mountain.
If we weren't on camera, I would have left the plate.
That was amazing.
Now you're finding out what Debbie's really like.
I'm scared of her.
Glad you like it. That's great.
Really good.
Yeah,
you.
so, you know, sometimes I go to people, I go, give me your top 5 values, and they go, and then they say, sorry, and then they say, loyalty, truth, honesty, and I go, so that's how you want people to treat you? And they go, yeah. I go, but that's not who you are, so people don't understand what values are. And when I ask them, do you know what values are? They go, I don't know. So it's your fundamental principles of behavior, how you show up in the world.
So what you're saying is values, and people don't always have their mission statement and their vision statement and their values. They miss that out when they actually do their business. So in a business, it's really important to have your vision statement, your mission statement, but also to write what the values are of the business to make sure the people have those values as well. So are you also saying that in a relationship, you should know each other's values as well?
Absolutely, because if you know, so when I work with my clients, what I do is I do an exercise for them to find out their values, their top values, and I do like a combination between Tony Robbins and DeMartini and Matt Newton and Blair Singer. So I studied values with so many different people and different processes, and I pulled out what I felt like worked for me, and then I trialed it with my clients, and it's working, right?
So in what was the process, the way that you actually trialed it with your clients? How did you do it? And like, where would they do this in a relationship? Is this a relationship, a new relationship? In the beginning of a relationship, when the relationship's been going for a while? When is the best time to actually turn around? It's a weird conversation. What are your values?
Well, it's interesting, but if you do work on yourself, like let's say if you're single, right? So you've had broken relationships. It's in your best interest to actually start working on yourself. Because, and people say like they sometimes attract the same type of people, right? Yeah. And then they go, not again. This happened last time.
And the time before.
So who's the common denominator? So it's very hard to ask that question, and it can be sometimes like but I know in my relationships, I was the common denominator. Yeah. So I was attracting the same type of men.
But we all do. We all attract the same type of people unless we take a look at ourselves.
Amen.
And say, you know, what is, because it is, we're the common denominator. So what is happening? How am I acting? Who are the people that I'm actually attracting? That actually rhymes too. Who are the people I'm actually attracting? So we can actually take a stand back and change, because if we want things to change, we need to change them.
Yeah, so the way, what I do, you asked me what I do. So I actually I compiled a list of values from Brian Tracy, Brene Brown, Matt Newton, Tony Robbins. So I looked at values, you know, I did a lot of research, and I looked at businesses, what values they have, and then I printed them all out, and I started to highlight the main ones.
Right.
And there were like about 80% of them turned up exactly the same, and then there were a couple there that they were relevant to their specific niche, and I thought, well, like one of them was a religious person, so I wasn't going to bring that into what I do. So I created my own, and I read it out. I actually read it out to the clients. So it takes about 3 to 4 minutes doing it, but I read them out 1 word per second. So that doesn't give them enough time to write every single one of them down.
So what would some of the values be?
Well,
as an example.
So accomplishment, contribution, discipline, integrity, family, love, wisdom, self-development.
So it's important to build the foundations of a relationship to know what your partner's values are, and to know that you're happy with those values as well. For instance, family, one person may not want to have children, one person may want to have children. So that can be complicated if we don't know what's actually happening in the beginning. So that's really important too.
And if I can add there, when you say that, it's funny that something that I've discovered over the last 18 to 24 months is we get with people in a relationship, and we'll sit there and go, you know, what's your favourite colour? What's your favourite food? Your favourite movie? And a lot of people like when it comes to date nights.
Right.
Oh, it sounds really dicky saying we're going to have a date night. You know, I don't know what to say, call it a date night. It's the same thing where it's hard to sit down. If you really want to know the person you're with, you need to sit down and, you know, it doesn't have to be like, let's sit at the dinner and look at each other's eyes and go, what are your values? But we really should, if you're wanting to really get to know your person, and you're really wanting to get to know the person who they really are,
Yeah.
even if it's not right at the start, because you still get to know each other. But I really think those are questions, and this day and age, relationships are going through a really weird thing at the moment. With a lot of the younger generation, there's a lot of changes. Relationships are not the same as they are. But if I can give something to take away from this, if there's something you remember, if you meet someone and you're with them, and if it's the first couple of days or couple of weeks, or it's starting to get serious, sit down one night, even have dinner and just go, what do you want in the relationship? Find out what they want, their needs, their wants, their values. What do they value? Because if you,
Instead of waiting till later.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get to some couples that have been together 20 years, and I'd say, what's her values? Or what is she like? Oh, I don't know, she just talks all the time, I just switch off and look at the TV.
So what do people do to make that communication a lot better? Because it's not an easy conversation to have at times. So what things can they do to make that communication a lot better?
In relation to values, you mean?
No, in relation to whatever they need to talk about. So in relation to values, in relation to whatever they need to speak about. How do they make that, how do they communicate better?
You've got to be the person, whoever you are. If you're watching this right now, you really need to. You can't wait for the other person. As I said before, you can't control the one you're with, but you can take some, responsibility and go, okay, I'm going to have this conversation. Now, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be a sit-down conversation. Sometimes I get a lot of clients, if I say you want to have a deep, a good conversation, do it while you're driving. Do it while you're doing something. Like maybe you're going for a walk together, and you're going for a walk in the afternoon, and you go, mate, we're getting somewhere. I've never really asked, what are your values? What do you value the most? It's not a difficult, it's not a, oh God, that feels a bit awkward. It might feel a bit awkward because it's not something that we're taught.
But it's all about nurturing that relationship.
Exactly. And if you ask these questions, they're questions that not many people are asking. And if they ask them, they actually might go, wow, this guy or this girl's actually interested in me. They really want to know
They care.
what it means to me. Is it family? Is it children? Is it animals? Is it, being treated right? I mean, my recent partner, when we first started dating, she said to me, we were talking about all sorts, and she said one thing, she goes, if you ever, like she's so lighthearted, and the one time she got serious, she says, if you ever do anything with anyone else while you're with me, sleep with one eye open, because I'll cut that thing off and I'll put it in a nice jar and I'll throw it out the window. And then we went back to life, and it was funny. It was scary, but it was funny. It was kind of hot too at the time. Because you sort of thought, well, she set a boundary. Again, these are values, and these conversations are like boundary settings. And it's not putting a fence up, but I had a conversation before I got here this afternoon with a lady down in the main street near the laundromat. And she was saying that when she just got married, this is her partner's third marriage, this is her second, and she was saying that straight away, she said, because he's got certain issues and that he's dealing with and working with, and she just found that out, and it's anger issues, and she said to me, I said it straight away, and I said, what did you say? How did you say? And she said, well, we were just talking about it, and he goes, yeah, I know, I get angry and everything, and she said, right, that's fair enough, I understand. And she said two things. One, if he starts to get like that, I sort of go, right, I let him chill for about 5 minutes and go, are you right? If you calm down? And that's it. And she said, secondly, she said, the first time you touch me, you lay a hand and get physical, I will make one call and you will be out this door. And I went, you said that? She goes, yeah. And you could see this woman was just, that's it.
The boundaries are really important.
And she was like, and he goes, even though he's still dealing with it, he's working through it, and it's only a new relationship, new marriage sort of thing. But at the same time, she said, by doing that now, he knows what I expect. He knows and respects me for that. And if he starts doing it, I just go, dude, I'm going to leave you for 5 minutes while you have your little hissy fit in the corner and stuff. And you go out, and I'll come back in 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll go, are you okay? And if you have that up front, and you have that discussion early on,
Oh, sorry.
then
we're
it's
being
set.
interrupted.
You know.
So, we got the main course.
You need to show that to the camera.
Oh.
Let's hope we're not setting off your smoke alarm.
Oh my We'll find that out pretty quickly.
The smell.
So, for the main course, we got a barbecued tenderloin on top of roasted carrot puree with broad beans and a beef short rib cigar.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Tom.
So,
No worries.
do we lift?
Yeah, if you
Maybe
want to eat
one
the
at-
meat, then you need to lift up the glass.
Maybe one at a time, just so we don't set the smoke.
You go first, you're the
I
host.
don't know, I'm going
I
first.
know, he's going.
I've already
Go,
done.
go, 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 go. Oh my God, look at that.
Take it that way. Take it that way, not that way. The smoke alarm's that way.
Oh, I'm trying to blow it that way.
No,
No,
it's-
I inhale it though.
No, it's okay, stop, that's enough. Oh
Wow.
my god. The smell of this is amazing.
Oh
Okay,
And I do apologise, I'm a little sniffly because I've had a really bad day of hay fever, so I've had to really prepare to be able to breathe tonight. So this is probably going to clear my senses like crazy, which is fantastic. So you go next, lady, before it
Wow. Now that is a dining experience.
Oh, this is, I haven't seen anything, this is very arty.
I was going to say, we're not
Dramatic.
we're not in Kansas anymore, ladies.
No.
Your turn, Jay.
Well, you put me under pressure there when you
Oh,
said
look
like
at
the
that.
Scott was so good.
Oh, jeez.
That is so cool.
I just want to sit here and admire it.
And I got the corner, which is, I love the corner.
Thank you.
How did you know?
I didn't. I was just got lucky, I guess.
Awesome. Beautiful, this is amazing.
See, I'm really glad that I mixed, speaking with experts and helping the audience together with amazing food. This is incredible. Thank you. Wow. Yeah.
Who thought a glass over your meat would have such an impact? That is fantastic.
Thank you, this is beautiful. Well, can I just, do you have a question?
No, I was going to say something, but go on, you go.
No.
No, please
Go for
do.
No, it's about we're talking about the boundaries.
Oh, yes.
And,
Yes. I
and this
remember
is
what I was
almost
going to
like
say.
a segue into the code of honor, which is, for me, it's like paramount.
Here it is.
Ta-da.
Just before we go into that, I wanted to ask, when you talk about boundaries, because we don't talk about the boundaries a lot, we end up having really high expectations.
Yeah.
So we don't actually, talking about our boundaries is really important, and it's something I would have never thought of doing, but it is really important because people then think that your expectations are really high, where they may not be as high that you think for the other person.
I have couples that have been together 15, 20 years sit there, and I ask, as I said before, what are your partner's beliefs? What are their values and stuff? And they don't know. So
Yeah,
how
look,
can
it's
you?
not a conversation that
Exactly.
you usually have.
But how can you have expectations of someone when they have no idea what you expect from them?
Oh my god.
Well, I'll just keep talking because these two are just going to be like.
What is this thing?
The beef cigar.
Oh my.
Yeah, beef short rib cigar.
Oh good god.
That was on the barbecue
Yeah,
first as well, and then slow cooked for 48 hours on 65
Oh God,
degrees.
I'm going to try it.
And then pulled apart.
I want to do that, but I
No,
want to try
that's
that.
amazing too.
I know, but I want to try the 48-hour slow cook.
I get that reaction very often, like people think like oh, the steak, I can't wait to get into there, and then they get into the little dish.
I know, I had a steak and then I had this and I went to heaven.
We've got a couple of good comments.
Yeah.
What have we got there?
What have we got?
So Diana has said, happy for you guys to enjoy a divine dinner and having art on the plate. It looks stunning.
Great.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear Nikki talk? Are they telling you they can hear you?
No, but we've got another good comment from Diana as well.
Okay, so
So Diana says, very good point to find out about the values.
Very good point to find out the values. Thanks, Diana.
Of a starting relationship and maintaining later as well.
Start of a relationship and maintaining it as well. Yeah, really, really great. Thanks, Gianna.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Just these.
Cool. Thank you for that.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. So we were talking about the boundaries and high expectations. So people have the high expectations because they don't talk about the boundaries. But by talking about the boundaries, they actually set the right expectations wherever they may be. So then people know. It's like when you go into a job. You know what's expected of you, so you know what the boundaries are.
And how do you know what's expected of you?
Because you've asked, or because they've told you.
They've told you, plus also
It's in the job description. Job description.
Where's the job description?
We don't come with a job description.
So how do you know what is expected? What you might go, well, I expect them to behave this way or that way. Have you actually just told them that? Have you let them know?
Yeah.
Because, sorry, I might be a guy, but I'm not a mind reader. And if I was a mind reader, I'd probably make a hell of a lot more money. And I think no one.
Why aren't you a mind reader? I'm joking.
Really? Is that what you thought of me? Oh, now I'm finding out. Sorry. But that's why, and I think that's what Annie was leading to. Her little
the code of honour.
Code of honour.
Explain the code of honour that you're talking about.
Oh no, she wants to enjoy this.
You talk. I have to. This cigar.
Oh, thank you.
I want another one.
So we've talked about communication. We've talked about how important it is. Okay, while you're doing that, then what are some of the important tips for communication? We talked about when you're in the car you can talk, when you go for a walk, but what are some other important tips on communication? Because to me, I feel the most important thing in a relationship is to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Because if you can communicate, then you can get over the hurdles. If you can communicate properly, you can have discussions, you can talk about things. But if you can't communicate, then, everything falls apart. So what are some great tips of communicating?
Annie's mentioned it a few times before about, not tonight, but discussions we've had about love languages. I think you also need to understand the other person's communication language. There are some people through our relationship, if we wanted to get something off our chest, and sometimes I get a little frustrated, I might talk over the person or I try to answer before they're finished. So what we would do is, I'd say, put it in text, put it in an email and send it to me, and I'll read it tonight when I go to bed, sleep on it, and I'll come back to you about it tomorrow. Yes, it takes the tonality out of it, but at the same time,
It
if you're
doesn't take
struggling,
tonality out of it, really, people can take it the wrong way.
yeah, well, exactly. And
I've
that's
had
why,
emails before where, I thought it was one way, but they meant it a totally another way.
but that's why you've got to look at it as, when you read it in a calm space. And when you write it. Sometimes I'll say, write your email, or write how you want to express it. If you want to express something, write it down. It could be in an email, it could be just in a pen and paper, it could be in a text, but then don't send it. Leave it overnight.
Think about it.
Go back to it the next day, have a look at it and go, are you happy with that? If not, adjust it, and then send it. And the person who gets it to read it, they need to read it when they're calm and they're set. Because sometimes, if that's the way you communicate better, and that's how we used to do it, and it worked well, there's other people that they need to talk, and I go, okay, find out how they need to talk. Don't talk to them in the morning when they first get up and they're going to work. And it's probably not always a good time to talk about it when they're going to bed after doing 12, 15 hours of work and they're like, oh, I want to go to bed.
People pick bad times, and it's like, no, I want to talk now. No, I want to talk right now.
Well, you're not going to get the answer that you want.
No, but you're also not going to get the reaction that you want. You're also not going to get the person being in the frame of mind that you want at that time either. So it's got to be when two people feel that they are right to talk, and not that they're rushed to go somewhere or they have to do something as well.
But understand what it is. Find out how they like to communicate, how they like to express themselves. I know Annie's begging to say it, but she's also enjoying that taste of it. So.
Now I haven't chewed for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm waiting for my cue.
Okay, so Annie wants to talk to us about code of honour. So explain code of honour.
So all of this comes down to what we call a code of honor. So like in the Navy and the Army, they have a code of honor that they all abide by. It's a set of rules that holds people. Is that the food or what I'm saying? Gosh, he's having an orgasm. Okay.
The food is really, really good. I have to tell you.
Seriously,
It's like it's like tasting. It's like having a party in your mouth. That's probably the best way I
that's
can
one of the ways I describe it. My tongue's having more than a party in my mouth.
It's a rave.
I'm just.
Yeah.
We probably should tell them what the food tastes like. It tastes, one's got a bit more. The cigars have got a bit more sweet. One's got a bit more earthy flavour. But yet it's like a party in your mouth.
How do you describe that? There's no way to describe. Look how tender that is. How it's cooked, not overcooked, not undercooked. It's perfect. As you
Your
could ever
reaction,
cook.
that says it all. It's a shame that you guys didn't have this view, the view that I had, because it was like...
Are we getting a bit off topic here?
Yes, I think so. We got to orgasm already, so we skipped communication, code of honor, all the other steps, goal setting.
No, we're coming back to
steps.
code of honor.
So,
We're coming
yeah.
back to it.
Now he's praying. He got all religious now.
It literally is like a party in your mouth, but with different, like the earthy flavors or a little bit on the sweet. It's just, it's wow.
Well,
No, that's it. That's regardless, like.
that's my secret, not secret for my relationship.
Can I take you home and you can just cook up my rest of the year's food, because this is just I can't even.
I'll have a look at my calendar and see what's free.
Yeah, I know.
I like that one.
You can book me.
Unbelievable.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Glad
This is
you like it.
amazing.
Thanks, Chef Thomas. Okay, you were talking code of honor and why a code of honor is so important.
So a code of honor is like a set of rules that holds you together when the shit hits the fan.
I like that.
Okay. So and that works in an intimate relationship and in a business relationship. A lot of teams can work well together, but when adversity hits, then they're gonna. I can't talk with him doing those faces. I almost said something.
Guys, we don't have a lot of time. You're
I'm
gonna
sorry.
have to let her talk.
I'm not saying anything. I'm
I've got a comment about what's going on here. It's a burden to watch you.
It's a what?
It's a burden to watch you.
A burden to watch
A
us.
burden.
Diana.
Diana, you've got to get him to come and cook for you. This is.
Do I know Diana?
No.
Oh, okay. Hi,
I
Diana.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it's the code of honor is built around the values for you not to compromise on your values. So you have some set of rules that will not allow you to compromise on your values, because that's what happens with couples, is they compromise on what's important to them, and that's when the friction starts. That's when the arguments start, because you're giving up on your value. For example, you don't want to have kids. I want to have kids. Family is very
Can
strong.
we get through dinner before we start talking about having kids here? I mean, geez, get a bit forward now, aren't we?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't help myself after seeing those faces. Yeah. So the thing is that
Careful, Diana will think this is more than a burden for dinner.
yeah. So the thing is that we start arguing, and then I'll give up my value because I want to please him, or vice versa.
Bingo.
Right? So there are many women out there who don't want to have children. They made that choice. They don't want to have children. Now society looks down on them, and then sometimes they go ahead and they go, "Oh, I'll have a child just to please him," right? So then, then it's like that didn't come from the right intent.
True.
Right? Or and then they don't feel good because
But they're scared to say otherwise, because then they're scared the other person will walk away.
well, but that's the thing.
But then is that the right person for you?
Well, so that's the thing. You need to think about it. You need to actually come together and understand values, right?
So it brings us back to values. Hay fever.
Your hay
You all right?
fever.
I'm trying not to react so she can see my face, but that is just the greatest piece of meat I've ever had in my mouth ever. I'm just.
The food is absolutely amazing, I have to say, which has made the conversation pretty amazing too.
And you know what the thing is? How amazing would be to have a dinner party with friends, and you don't need to stress about doing this.
No.
Because if you look at the value, let's look at dollar value, right? You look at the value of your investment. You know, at the time, you're working, the running around, the everything else, the cooking. So how much is your hourly rate?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So even a date night. Have a special date night. Have someone else do the cooking for you.
I tell you, I would lose my shit if the guy would organize a chef and say, sit there, baby. I'm like, oh, okay. Woo woo.
Tommy, I know this was an important topic for you, so I wanted to ask you if there was anything else you wanted to say in regards to code of honour.
Oh, look, I just thought I'd mention it because, you know, the foundations, the very first thing is values and code of honour. Because you need to be protective of yourself by creating your personal code of honor, and then you two create your values for the relationship, and then you build a code of honor around it. And that's when, you know, you talk about communication, and you talked about knowing how to communicate, you know. And I heard this from Tony Robbins in his love and relationship, or whatever it is, his CD home study. And he's talking with Sage about when they first met, and they had arguments, and those two, like, Sage is a little woman, but my gosh, she holds her space. And you know how big Tony Robbins is.
Yes.
And when they at each other, they are at each other, but they have a code around it.
So a code of honour is really like the rules around
It
things.
is a rules. It's a set of rules
Right.
that upholds the integrity
And
of
both
the
people
values.
are aware of it. It's
So
been
things like
discussed.
no calling names, things like, you know, things
Yeah.
like it could be not going to bed angry at night.
That's right.
Things like, you know,
You give me a kiss on
I think the big
in
thing,
the morning.
give me a
Yeah.
kiss in the morning. I think the big thing is not calling people names, because, you know, I hear that at times in relationships where instead of arguing about something, they're at each other's throats, really, you know, calling each other horrible stuff.
Well, do you know what? One of the rules is how we fight. Because some people, they fight dirty. But they know that that's the way of fighting. Because you also have to have a rule around how you fight. Because if you tell me you don't fight, your relationship's not important enough.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there's no two people that are exactly the same.
No, I think when people don't fight, they're not talking, they're not communicating.
Yeah. But it's how you fight. So
So important.
for me, name calling is, or swearing at each other. My parents, my dad and my stepmom used to call each other every name under the sun and bring down, we used to say, all the gods, right? and it was, in my language especially, it was really crass and really derogatory and filthy. So I made it a rule that I can say the F word very easily, and I can say shit, and I can say this and that. But to my person, oh, shut up. So to my person, I wouldn't say you go get effed. You know, I can say I'm effing angry, but I wouldn't say
Because
to
it
you.
changes the argument then.
It's
Then it's not about the topic, it's about you having a go at that person.
It's disrespecting the other person. Now that's my way. However, I have friends who just go, you go get F, and they go, no, you go get F. But then they make up and they have wild sex and all of that.
Yes.
But that is their way. So there's no way that is the right way, but you got to create your rules around it.
So as long as you keep that the way it is, because sometimes that you go get F and you go get F, after a while I've seen that when it starts to go downhill, it starts to get a little bit nasty, and it isn't wild, passionate sex. It starts to get, as you said, and that's where you've just got to, again, use, as Annie used, the code of honour. And if you always stick to that and have some sort of framework like that, sounds weird to have it in a relationship, but
But you have to.
we've got to start doing something different when relationships and marriages at a 52.7% end in divorce, and first marriages and 53.8% of second marriages end in divorce.
Wow.
we've got to start doing things differently. I know people go along and say, oh, gay marriages are wrong and everything else. Seriously, they can't stuff it up any worse than straight marriages. So I think anyone can have a relationship with anyone if they want, legally, at the right age, but at the same time, be, really understand and let's work out a way of making it work better than it has been.
So what's a person's responsibility in a relationship then?
Well, everybody's responsible to their values,
Yeah.
to their code,
Yeah.
and to actually share with the other person. I just wanted to give a tip. Can I just give you a
Please do.
tip about I started to talk about Sage and Tony Robbins, right? So how many of you out there listening have experienced this in your relationships? One of the two of you walks away. There's always a walker, right? So the walker goes off and comes down and comes back all happy as Larry.
I've done that.
The person left at home is still stewing because, oh my God, you walked away from me.
Yeah.
Right? So the rule there is to have an understanding, okay, when I'm upset, I need to walk away because I don't want to say things to you. I'm very angry, right? But when I come back, I will sit down with you and we will discuss this. Okay, so the person left behind knows
What's going on?
that when you come back, there will be a discussion. So they have time to chill down because they know there will be a discussion. And you know what? If a couple fights for longer than 1 hour, it has nothing to do with each other. It's you are the trigger, and then you need to go away and figure out what came up for you. And that's when you do the work on yourself, your own personal development, your own relationship with yourself, to figure out that trigger has happened to you before somewhere along the line in your programming. So what you want to do is to get yourself a coach. You know, a lot of people go, oh, coaching, life coaching. Yeah, we're coaching your life. We're helping you with tools to discover the magnificence of you, so then you can show up to the other magnificent human being you're with.
But a coach is a really important way to help you change your paradigm. A lot of people still have the paradigm of when they were a child and things that happened to them. And that's why they keep making the same mistakes, because they haven't taken a step back. And with a coach is able to see what you can't see.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
No. Sorry.
We're in front of the camera.
I know what he wants. I can tell you what he wants. I tell you what he wants.
Have you got any others left over? I couldn't take it.
Take it.
Oh God, seriously.
Oh, see, look at that. Now you're going to see the face again, and Diane is going to throw up any minute now. Yeah, so it's really, really important. And this is one of the things that happened in my marriage. He would walk off, right? But by the time he came back, he was relaxed. But we never finished it off. So it's like an open circle. So imagine you draw a circle like this. Where does your eye go?
To the opening?
That's right. Because it's not finished. So you need to close that circle, which means that you need to have that discussion.
Or if not, it gets bigger and bigger because you're not talking about it. So
It gets
more and
bigger
more
and
and more
bigger.
things that pack on and pack on and pack on
That's
and pack on.
right. But the circle is still open. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how big the circle becomes, it's still got an opening. So what happens, you have this situation, then you have another situation, then you have another situation, then you have this chain
Of situations.
So the first situation created an emotion, created pain. The second situation is similar to the first one, so then the pain compounds.
But it's
because
all a
you've got two.
domino effect. If you don't sort it out in the beginning, everything becomes a domino effect.
Yeah.
Amen. So it's really important that you go back to the source. And as soon as you deal with that, the rest of the chain falls apart and you're good. Can you change the event? No. You can remove the charge attached to it. Because we walk around very charged.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
True.
And the person didn't do anything to you, because if I do this, where do most of my fingers point? At me. There's 3 of them pointing at me and 1 pointing at you.
I never realised that, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
It's so true.
About 10 years ago, I went to a psychologist,
Yeah.
and he said to me, he goes, where do most of my fingers point? And I'm looking at him going,
What
what are you talking about? And he goes, point at me. And I'm like, well, I learned when I was young not to point. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, point. And I said, I'm pointing. He goes, so where do most of your fingers point? I go, what are you talking about? Right? So I got really aggravated after 5 minutes. And he goes, oh, okay. The 3 fingers. I go, what 3 fingers? He goes, look at your hand. Oh. Oh. And he goes, you know there's people that like to listen to their own voice? And I go, yeah. He goes, you're one of them. What?
If we don't learn about ourselves,
Yep.
we can't change things about ourselves. And if we don't change things about ourselves, we can't bring happier and better things into our lives.
Yeah. And as cruel as that was, but it was true. And it was true. How did I know that? Because I took responsibility. I could have fought with him and said, how dare you say that to me, and da-da-da-da-da-da.
I don't pay you this to have
But
a go at
deep
me.
inside,
But that's
I
the
knew
whole
he
thing.
was right.
If we take responsibility, then the lessons are learned a lot quicker, and then
Oh,
you're a sweetheart.
stop No, you've got to have. How can you say no? Oh, so I can't. Oh,
Go on.
If you, I forgot totally what I was saying in regards to that. But what I do want to ask you
Yeah.
is love languages. So tell me, what are the different love languages?
Oh my God. Sometimes when I get put on the spot, I don't remember. So it's, you need to help me and shut up.
Thank you.
So,
we have different languages when we express love.
so a lot of people is acts of service. So people that like to do things for people.
So for entrepreneurs, a lot of the time it's acts of service, because we do a lot to help other people. We do a lot to make a difference for other people. But what we forget is doing stuff for ourselves as well.
No, but that's not in love languages. It's not like that.
No, but what I'm in a relationship, if you're a person who gives a lot and who does a lot, right?
Yeah.
Then you're giving a lot to your partner and you're forgetting about yourself. So your love language needs to be for yourself as a couple and not just as yourself as one.
Well, not the way I understand it. Not in this case.
Okay, go on.
So it's acts of service, gifts, quality time, touch, and words of affirmation.
Tell me more.
Okay. So, for example, if my love language is acts of service, I naturally do things for you. That it's just who I am.
Yes.
But the way I want to be loved is for you to do something for me.
Okay.
Right? So, for example, if doing the laundry, that's really important for me. So let's say we're married, right?
Yep.
So my love language is acts of service. So I'm forever cooking and I'm doing this and I'm aware of the things that Jayson likes. So I do things for him.
yeah.
But Jayson knows that that's how I like loving and that's how I like being loved. So he knows that I need the laundry done. So he goes and does the laundry. I wake up in the morning, everything is washed, dried, and put away.
So it's the little
I
things that make
am
such a big
happy.
difference that people forget.
Because
The
he
little
served
things.
me. Now, Jayson's love language is touch, which means
Food.
that he would always come and either do this or put his arm around me, or when we're somewhere, he puts his hand on the small of my back. So he needs to forever be in touch with me. Love him is to return that, even though that might not be my love language,
Right,
but because
right.
I know that brings joy to him. And this what brings to the language of love is about serving the other person. Because when you bring joy to another individual, you get joy. When I go like this and he closes his eyes, I know that he just got electrified, because he that's what he needs. He needs the touch, he needs the cuddle. And I might just say, hey, you know what, let me just give it a try, because it's not that bad. You know?
He's pretty sweet.
So it's not about how we all do things, it's about looking at the other person and, what is it that they like and how do they express love as well, and how do they like to receive love.
And the 5 languages of love,
Yeah.
the website, 5languagesoflove.com, they actually have a diagnostic, they have a questionnaire. So they have it for single people and they also have it for couples.
So what's the website again?
5lovelanguages.com.
Okay, 5lovelanguages.com.
So just Google 5 love languages, and it's really amazing. And the great thing is that if you got to give them your email address, so then they send you the responses or whatever. But then you actually get emails from them, and they talk about so many things about languages of love, and they really pull apart each love language, and it's really great. So I think it's imperative as an individual to do your own, reconnaissance work.
Yeah, definitely.
Do some Googling, man. Do some research. Find out if there's something that is bugging you in your relationship. How do I ... Because you can learn about things, and sometimes you can read something. How's this? I'm working with this couple, and there's high expectation, right? So I thought what I learned was you shouldn't have expectations, right? So like I give a gift, I have an expectation of somebody saying thank you.
As you do.
But somebody said to me, you should have no expectation of anything.
I've heard that
so
too.
I felt really small, right? So I'm reading this huge, I started doing some research about expectation. You should have expectations. You should have expectations of your life.
But the other person should know what your expectations are as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you know how you want to live your life, what are the things that you want in your relationships? You have certainty, you want significance. Now you should have significance, and these are the 6 human needs, right? Yeah. Certainty, you want to be sure. Uncertainty is adventure. You got to sometimes have things that are spontaneous.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, significance, you don't get significance from another person. You have your own significance, but then it's really nice when another person makes you feel significant, right? Then there's growth, then there's contribution, and I forgot the 6th one. Do you know the 6th one?
No, I've gone blank. Sorry, I was just holding back a sneeze then.
I've got
Not off the top of our head, guys.
Oh.
We will post it. We will put it in the comments. We'll put it in the comments.
Contribution. There you go.
Or you can research it as well. You can do that too.
The 6 human needs.
So tell me, how do you feel that keeping your relationship on track actually helps your business?
Well, why do people work? What is their why?
Right? Different for different people?
But majority of people are doing it for their family.
True.
Even if it's about making a lot of money, it's about having a great quality of life, and it's about having a particular lifestyle, right? So it's really important that you know your why, and then you work on that why. You can go to work and bury your head in the sand an emu, right? But when you go home,
you've got to go home to your
partner. It's really interesting. You said at the beginning that you have a lot of women coming to you.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of executive men, and that's my target market, executive men. And I find myself sitting there, I'm in a mastermind group, or I'm at a networking thing, or I'm, and I talk to men, and all of a sudden they just, they blurt out their life story, and 3 hours later they look at me going, why did I tell you all that?
And there's no one left in the room. It's just the two of you standing there.
And I go, I don't know. Maybe they feel safe.
Because they feel safe and they're able to, and because you're not their partner as well.
I don't think it's the other things that I think.
Meaning they can say more to somebody else that they don't know.
Possible.
I feel that's why people see coaches or see people as well, because it's not someone they know. It's someone else that they're able to open up with, they feel comfortable with, and they can talk to.
Well, that's
about
definitely
what's happening.
But the fact is, I don't know these people, and they just start talking to me. I say, hey, how are you? My marriage is doing really great now. Did you have trouble in your marriage? I didn't know that. I haven't seen you about a year and a half.
I just walked in somewhere.
That's right. So the thing is that it's very easy to go to what you know, which is work. You become really good, and in life you do business development, but then you have to do personal development alongside it. Because you can learn all the skills under the sun. You can be the best lawyer, the best accountant, but ultimately you were born with a heart, and that's including men. God gave them a heart and tear ducts. right? Like men don't want to cry. Why not? You have tear ducts, right?
They should be able to just as much as women. Just as much as women.
That's right. And men feel a lot. But again, it comes back to programming. They can't show and all of that.
That's generalising though. There are a lot more men these days that will show
is
changing,
than
as I
haven't
said,
beforehand.
yes.
It's changing, but I was just going to say, a vulnerable man is very sexy because that's a man who stands in his power.
Yeah.
A man who knows what he wants and he's not afraid
To show
of
it.
showing any emotion.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was a generalization. But I come across a lot of men who
Are in that space.
who are in that space.
Yeah.
And all it takes is just a little, as you said, change in paradigm, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know?
And it is starting to change, as you said before.
That paradigm shift is amazing. When they have that paradigm shift, things just change. Things change in their life, and it's just one of the most amazing things. And it's like being unstuck.
Yeah.
Is what it's like.
Yeah.
Jay, if you can tell me, what do you think in regards to how keeping your business on, how keeping your relationship on track can actually help your business as well?
Well, most businesses, you end up you're building relationships with your clients. Even if you're selling a product or a service, or you're working somewhere, even if you're working on a mine, you still have relationships with your bosses. You have relationships with the people you work with. Now, if you don't have good relationships at work, you're then going to go home and take it out at home, which is not good.
Yeah.
And it's the same. If you don't have a good relationship at home, what do? The first thing you go to work, oh, thank God, you should have heard what they did last night. Just kept going on and on about this, and they take it into the work, and it just, that's why you've got to really, the key you said before is virtually, and was saying that things are starting to change, is you've got to be okay with being a bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Be a
With
little
lot
bit
of,
more open.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with business in every respect in regards to your relationships, because even with your clients, if you're wanting to build those relationships with your clients as well, you need to be more open and vulnerable, so you're connecting. And it's the same with your relationships at home. If you're more vulnerable with those relationships at home and with your spouse and your partners, you're going to connect more as well.
But it's a hard thing to do, because
It's definitely
especially
a hard thing to
for
do.
the or
It's
older
step by
generation like
step.
ourselves.
Step by step.
I think with a lot of issues that have been happening with mental health a lot recently and stuff, and there's a lot of focus on men being able to open up. There's websites and Facebook pages. It's okay to not be okay and stuff like that. It's starting, I think is just fabulous, because a lot of people go, oh, that's in regards to mental health. No, that is just in regards to humanity. Because you said it at the start, when we first sat down here, there's no competition between you and I. It's not like, oh, I can only say this because I don't want Annie to know, because she'll steal my ideas and she'll make her business more successful off my stuff.
It's
no,
about
can't
working
have it.
together.
It's be okay to share, because she might have my information. She might not be able to do it as well, or express it, or explain it the way I do. And same with what she says, I might not be able to do it. And at the end of the day, you don't buy this jug, you don't buy this wine, you buy the person you buy from. Like a haircut. A lot of people go,
We're
I
actually
go to a
drinking
certain...
apple cider, guys.
Yes. A lot of people say, oh, I go to this hairdresser, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
All of them? Oh, no, well, I see Dave, or I see Jen, or I see Izzy, and stuff like that. And you go, oh, so are you buying the salon, or are you buying that person? That's a relationship.
Yeah.
And you're able to be open to a complete stranger who's going to cut your hair, because if you don't, Jesus Christ, you can walk out looking now, my hair's growing, but you can walk out with a shocking hairdo, and then you're stuck with it for weeks, months, and you're going crazy. It's the same with anything. If you can be a little bit more vulnerable and open, if you can do it with a complete stranger as a hairdresser, you should be able to do it with your partner. You should be okay with doing it with some of your clients. And if you made a mistake, take it on board. Like so tonight,
how can I make it better?
Yes, you were worried about making sure this works perfect. And what did I say to you this afternoon? Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because if you make a mistake,
Enjoy the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enjoy, have faith in your ability of what you put together, and it is the same with have faith in what you can bring to a relationship. Don't try and change the other person, or don't try and bring more to the relationship that you really isn't you.
So what I'm going to say is no, that's all right. Be you. That's really important to be you. So in regards to your relationships, making those changes is step by step. It's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, God, no.
Have a look at what your values are. Have a look at what your partner's values are. Have that conversation. Learn how to communicate better. Make sure that you have date night as well. You know, make that date night something spontaneous, or make that, just close the door after there. Make that date night spontaneous, or make that date night something a bit different, a bit special, but make sure that you're there together nurturing that relationship as well. Just before we continue, I'm going to find out, because we don't have a lot of time left too, do we have any questions? No, fantastic. So these guys have done really, really well. Brilliant. What I'm going to do, I'll wait till he comes back as well, is there anything you want to add in regards to making sure that your relationship is better in order for your business to be better?
Well, I think there's you know, like I was talking about foundations, so there's so many other aspects to it that will benefit you, not just in your relationship with your partner, but in your relationships in your business.
Right.
You know, like presence and
Present instead of being work yourself, because we
Yes.
think a lot too, so make sure you are present.
very, very present. And you know, like people glaze over because they're somewhere else. You need to be there with your client. You need to be there with your person. Yeah, stop it, you. You know, having rituals in a morning, certain rituals that
Rituals or routines.
uplifts you, and there's lots of
It's the little things that matter too. Like he makes me coffee every morning or something like that. You know, the little things that
There's
make a
work to
difference.
make it too.
And also goals, you know, like the purpose of goal setting is to change the direction of change inside of you.
True. Very
Right.
true.
So goal setting, because when you achieve your goals, you grow, you get pride, you get fulfillment, and goals are not wishes. A wish is a goal without energy behind it,
Cool.
right? And successful people think on paper, so you've got to write stuff
A
down.
goal without an action is not a goal.
Absolutely. So goals are really, really important to set. Everybody puts fires out all the time rather than setting goals.
Yeah.
So empower other people to go and fix their
So
problems.
set your own goals for your relationship as well.
Yeah, so in relationships, I have my goals,
Yeah.
he has his goals, and then we have our common goals.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we
I
have
love
to.
that.
Yeah.
Because as an individual, there's things that I like doing. I
Yeah.
want to do, like, I want to climb a mountain, he wants to go diving. I don't want to dive, I want to climb a mountain. So
I
it's
want
like,
to dive.
so the thing is like there's an understanding that, and this is where our individuality and time apart
So do
comes.
your separate things and do your things together.
But then
Yes.
when we come back, how amazing is let's go out to dinner, because like it's a massive debrief session
Yes, you get
about
to talk about it and enjoy each other's.
what
Yeah,
worked,
what
what
did
didn't work, what did it like I
What did you
climbed,
like? What did you not like? How-
you know, I climbed Mount
Have fun
Kilimanjaro
together.
in 2016, and I'm climbing it next year again.
how do you
Now,
do it? Wow.
when I climbed that mountain, every single step related to my business. Everything,
Interesting.
and you know, like there's 3 summits. So I got to the second summit, and I was literally a couple of 100 meters, and I couldn't do another step. I couldn't breathe because the air, like at 19,000 feet, the air is
Very
thin.
thin.
I couldn't lift my leg, and I'm standing there and I'm looking, and the thing is just there, and I'm going, why am I here? So delirium is kicking in. I go, why am I here? Why am I here? And I'm going, I'm here because sometimes my clients might not get to the top, but it's the journey to get there that was important.
Yeah.
And
It's
I went,
always the journey.
shit. So I got to the summit, but there was one more summit, so I'm going back to do the 3rd summit. That's for me.
Well done. Go girl. Well
So
done.
the thing is that there's so many comparisons in life, and when it comes to relationships, the biggest relationship that you have ever for the rest of your life is with you. You are married to you first and
Hallelujah.
foremost,
It's
right?
right.
So build you, that's why I'm an architect. I build you up, I help you put your blocks to become the best version of you, because then you will attract, if you're single, the best version of another person.
That's it.
Or
That's
if you're in a
it.
relationship, both of you are going to start to discover yourself, and next you look at the other person with different eyes.
Yes,
You know?
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you for that, Annie. Jay, is there any last words that you'd like to say about having a great relationship to have a great business?
Annie just took the words right out of my mouth. There was a few things there. No, seriously, it is a step-by-step process. I think with a lot of relationships, we learn them, sadly, not always, but sadly from the past and sadly from our parents.
But that's with everything too.
I know.
Everything, that's why we need to change the paradigm of that. Everything comes from, learning our lessons in the past. It's like one of the things I really hate, one of the sentences I hate is that most successful people have had gone through crap. And the reason I hate it is because I hate that everyone has to go through crap.
Yes.
But it's such a true statement, because when you've gone through it all, that's when you learn it. And when you learn those lessons, you become better people after that.
Yeah.
If you are willing to learn.
Yes.
If you're open to it, yes.
I'll use that little example we used when we had that chat the other week. It was a thing that we learnt many years ago. You know this very well. A guy starts dating a girl, and he goes to the dinner, and the dinner is a lovely, nearly as good as, it's just a lovely piece of meat, good roast. But he notices when his girlfriend's cooking this roast that she gets this lovely big piece of meat, and she slices about an inch of it off and drops it in the bin. And he's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Leave it, I know what I'm doing." So he cooks the roast and everything, and he has it. He goes, "Oh, it's fantastic." And it bugs him. He's like, "Why did she just do that?" And she goes, "I learned it from Mum." They're at the parents' in-laws' house a few weeks later. He sees the mum do the same thing. Lovely big piece of meat. Preparing it, putting all the herbs and spices, cuts an inch, half an inch off, throws it at the bench. He goes, "What are you?" So, look, your daughter is lovely, and I notice she does things you do. Can I ask why you cut the edge of the meat off and throw it in the bin? She goes, "Oh, it's just a thing I learned from Mum. I think it tenderizes it and makes it all lovely." And he goes, "Okay." Anyway, a couple of months a big family gathering, and Grandma's there. Grandma's had a couple of drinks, and he goes up and he goes, "Grandma, you a lovely daughter, a lovely granddaughter, and I'm so honoured to be in this family. I've got to really ask you a personal question." And she's like, "Oh, come on, son, calm down." He goes, No, seriously. I noticed your daughter and granddaughter do this thing where they cut the beef, they cut an inch off, and they throw it in the bin, and then they cook it. And they keep saying, "Well, it's because Mum did it, because Mum did it." Mum. Well, I'm asking you, why do you cut the inch off? And she goes, "Oh, stupid kids they are. I did it because it never used to fit in my oven that I used to cook in the 1950s. Now, this is where I'm saying before, unfortunately, we sometimes learn behaviours from our parents and our grandparents and in the past. Now, it's good, but as we are knowing in this day and age with everything, like for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you wanted to get public transport, who did you call? Public transport.
Ghostbusters.
You should say.
I nearly said that. That's why I stopped myself.
You would call a yellow cab.
Oh yeah, that's
You'd
right.
call a cab.
Yeah.
Now, you've got Uber, you've got
okay.
Didi, the way things have been always done, and people will say, "Well, that's how we've always done it, so this is how we would
We as
do it."
people need to evolve as well. We as people
Exactly.
need to look at ourselves and say, okay, how can we do things differently and
Because
better?
things that have worked in the past have worked in the past for a reason. But
not
it's-
everything has worked
no.
in the past, because that's why we've made the same mistakes over and over.
Exactly.
So we need to take a step back and listen.
So we can, and by saying that I don't want to do it the way Mum and Dad does not disrespect your parents. It does not disrespect where you've learnt it. Learn from it. Work out and go, "Well, that worked for them, but it's not going to work for me, or it's not working for me. I need to sit down and go, okay, What am I going to do differently? What am I doing? Don't be afraid to have a self-assessment. Don't be afraid to admit you get angry and you get frustrated. Don't be afraid to admit that you might react differently, or you might have facial features that make it look like you might be laughing where really you're like, I just don't understand why I say these stupid things. Whatever it is, sit down, have a look at yourself, because it doesn't start with you, it doesn't start with you, it doesn't start with you. It starts in here.
It starts with us.
And if you could just sit down and, you don't have to sit there and go, oh, you're a dumb shit, you don't know how to do relationships. No one does. When you went to school, you didn't get a book going, okay, relationship 101. Okay,
Did you not get that book?
You got that book? I knew there was a book somewhere. I knew it. Seriously. It's exactly, there are a lot of things that we did not get and we do not get. And relationships are tough. You have a relationship with a person when you walk out the front door in the morning. You have a relationship with a public transport driver. You have a relationship. There's a relationship with every person in the world. Don't be afraid to do something different and have a look at yourself. And if it didn't work, go home and just sit there and go, oh,
Try again.
I go to bed in a half an hour, and if it doesn't work out, I'll start again tomorrow and try a different way.
Start again tomorrow.
Don't be afraid to do
And
that.
with all of that, to cap all of that, is the word acceptance. Accept
Exactly.
you and your partner exactly as they are,
Foibles and all.
and forgive them, because like my message to the world is forgiveness is freedom.
It is, isn't
Your
it?
own personal freedom. Forgive your parents for, they did the best they could.
They were doing the best
You
they
know.
had.
With what they had at the
with what
time.
they had at the
Exactly.
time.
Forgive your partner for not knowing. You know better because you're learning, so you can learn how to invite, how to, there's opportunities. There, do it against all odds, right?
Thank you for that. On that note, guys, we're going to stop. We're a bit ahead of time, in front of time. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, please, take a step back. Have a look at what you're doing as well. Talk to your partner. Learn the different ways to communicate with your partner too. Take date night and understand that we're all different, and that's okay. But understand too that being able to better your relationship will much, much better your business as well. So I want to give a big, big thank you to Annie Kallis, Relationship Architect.
Thank you.
How can people get in touch with you, babe?
Well, we can just put the details in the comments box.
Yeah,
below.
we can put Annie's details in the comment
Or
box as
Google
well.
Annie Kallis. Kallis.
Jayson, Mair, Relationship Coach, thank you very much for tonight as well.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you for you looking after the comments.
Yes.
The lovely, delicious making food. God.
Did you just call me delicious?
Seriously. I hope everyone enjoyed
I want to
this.
thank my good friend Nikki for helping out with the
Thank
questions
you,
and comments
Nikki.
as well. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And a big, big thank you to my friend as well, Chef Thomas Damm from Damm Good, DAMMGOOD.com.au. And remember,
He lived up to his name.
remember, it doesn't matter how big your event is or how intimate you want your event to be, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where in the world you are too. Chef Thomas can actually help you out with an
Has
amazing
passport, will travel.
with an amazing dining experience as well. So thank you so much for that. My name is Debbie Small, and thank you so much for watching Business Dining with Deb, business treats and takeaways. Much appreciated. And remember, in life and in business, you need persistence and a great sense of humour. Keep moving forward. See you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.